Mr. President, today we are debating legislation that will dramatically reshape the American economy. It was written and continues to be rewritten in secret by only one party. It didn't have to be this way. Done right, this process could have had broad bipartisan support. We could have passed tax legislation that was fair, that was simpler, and that was fiscally responsible. We could have passed tax legislation that was truly focused on middle-class families and raising their wages. Instead, we have a bill that fails dramatically on every single one of these principles. This bill fails in so many different ways that I think it is helpful for us to talk about each myth that is being told. First, let's dispense with the myth that this is a middle-class tax cut. The bill makes dramatic, permanent cuts to corporate taxes while making very small, temporary changes to the taxes that middle-class families pay. According to the Joint Committee on Taxation, for many working families, the tax changes are less than $100 per year, or more simply put, about $2 a week. That is not a middle-class tax cut. That is a myth. The second myth that we hear is that corporate tax cuts in the bill will trickle down and raise wages for average workers. If that were true, we would probably hear some CEOs delivering the good news to their hardworking employees. But it's not. It's not true. It's a myth. We know this because the CEOs themselves are telling us what they will do. Yes, they're actually telling us, and it isn't raising wages. They have been clear. They are going to use the money that this bill gives them to buy back shares of their own company's stock, and they're going to increase payments to wealthy shareholders. CEOs are telling the White House this directly, and at a November 14th CEO gathering, Gary Cohn, the White House top economic advisor, was in a room full of executives that were asked what they would do with the money from the tax cuts. Would they put it back into their business? Would they grow their business? Would they increase wages? And only a couple hands went up in a very large room. They weren't up because they have no reason to lie. Their intentions have always been clear. They are going to take the money that this tax bill hands them and reward their executives and their wealthy shareholders. Again, we know this is going to happen because CEOs are telling us. And the bill keeps getting worse. We're hearing this myth that these tax cuts will pay for themselves. Well, they won't. After years of telling American public how important it is to address the debt and deficit, my colleagues on the other side of the aisle are now going to pass a bill that dramatically increases deficits. Nonpartisan analysis shows that this bill will inject $1.5 trillion of new debt that my Republican colleagues should be prepared to accept as their own creation if this bill passes. $1.5 trillion in new debt for our children is not fiscally conservative.
Chamber will be in order.
It is fiscally irresponsible.
Senate will be in order.
It didn't need to be this way. We could work together to build a tax code that lets working families in Michigan keep more of their hard-earned money, levels the playing field for our small businesses, and keeps good jobs here in the United States. Michiganders and all Americans deserve a tax code that is fair, simpler, and more responsible, not more multinational corporate giveaways and massive new debt. This bill clearly fails on all of these points, and I would urge my colleagues to vote no.